So if you're new to FPV, you're probably considering a RTF kit, and most likely considering this right here, the EMAX TinyHawk 3 RTF bundle. I've done a few videos on this. I'll leave them linked above and below where you can find those videos. Now, while flying this over a few weeks, it was apparent that there were some things that were great about this and some things not so great. So today we'll talk about 5 things that I like and 5 things that I dislike to help you make a better purchase decision. Let's talk about the things that I dislike, and we'll end on a good note and then end with the things that I did like about this whole RTF kit. Okay, so let's start off with the radio here. And the first thing that was apparent was just how nice this radio is. Obviously, this is a great improvement to the previous radio on the RTF kit version 2. So this is a big leap forward. But there's some things that were really apparent when I first picked this up. And what that was these switches here, these auxiliary switches. Now you have 3 position switches up here and then 2 position switches down here. But this wasn't labeled. Now, why is that important? If you're a first-time pilot, you want to know what these switches do. And without the labels, I have no idea what they do. And even as an experienced pilot like myself, I don't even know what these switches do. Meaning, when I open the box, I don't know what they do. They don't have arm, disarm, flip, turtle flip, or beeper. Now, most of the premium radios on the market don't have those labels as well, but they do assign them with a name. So switch A or B or C or switch 1, 2, or 3. And that's helpful. And why is that helpful? Because maybe, yes, you can change the assignment of each switch, but at the same time, not only are these switches not labeled what they do, I don't know if this is aux 1 or if this is aux 1. I don't know if this is aux 2 or this is aux 2. So it's really confusing. Now, yes, you can go into Betaflight and reconfigure these switches, but at the same time, as I said before, I don't know if this is aux 1 or aux 2 and what they're assigned to. In the future, especially for an RTF kit for beginner pilots, it would be greatly appreciated or really helpful if these things were labeled, maybe with what the switch does, because this is all configured or pre-configured before you even get this to your house. In fact, historically speaking, this is usually the A switch and this is the 2-position switch. Historically, it's used for arming, and this is not the arming switch. This is the arming switch, and that's a 3-position switch. So it's not the clearest. Okay, so the second thing I dislike about this drone is actually the battery. So what's wrong with the battery? There's multiple 1S batteries on the market. I feel like this drone here is underpowered, and I think it's because of the 1S battery. Now, the previous TinyHawk was powered by a 2S battery, or had the option to be powered by a 2S battery. EMAX did say that most users flew this drone with 1S, so I do understand that. But having the flexibility to use both 1S and 2S, in my opinion, would be a good choice. I did fly this indoors, and this thing flew pretty good. But once I got outdoors, we're talking about 5 to 10 mile-an-hour winds. This thing had a hard time just staying in position, or if I'm flying, I had to fly with a bank just to keep the track straight. Yes, the 1S is efficient, it's good, but I do feel like this was designed more for an indoor flyer. Even when you're doing just some light acrobatics or light acro maneuvers, then you're almost at full throttle trying to get out of the dive. And if there's any kind of wind that disturbs you, then whew, yeah, it could be a handful. I do think they should have kept the 1S/2S option available. The third thing I dislike about this kit is also in the drone, and that's the receiver. This is a D8 receiver. There's no option for D16, so you are limited by that. You can't really change it. Granted, there's other radios in the market that can bind to this and use the D8 protocol, but I wish it had the option for D16, or even better yet, maybe Express LRS. Express LRS has been out for almost 8 to 9 months now, and it seems to be the best of both worlds. So you have a very efficient transmission system, really good range, low latency, and yeah, you can actually have that built into the board. Now, this is also built into the board as well. I do think this is gonna last, so there's no real failures there. But if the receiver were to fail, then you would have to change the whole flight control since it's built into the flight controller board. Okay, so the fourth thing I dislike about this whole kit is in the goggles. This goggle here is pretty nice, well built, very versatile. You can detach the screen. Pretty amazing goggles. But the big thing here is the goggles. We're talking about the DVR here, guys. And the thing to note here is that there is a significant delay when you hit the record button. So here we go, hit this record button. It takes a few seconds to start. So you see the red light here. You can also see the red light here, but it's not recording. Once it starts flashing is when it starts to record. Yeah, it takes that long. So if you start your recording, go fly, you might miss a few maneuvers. You might miss a pretty crucial moment there. So the fifth and final thing I dislike about this whole kit is the battery as well. Now, not the battery size, we already talked about that, but just the fact that it was included with only one battery. As I said before, this is a beginner kit. A person who's starting to fly, they may not have the experience. They do want to get the hang of this drone. It's a 1S battery. 1S batteries aren't expensive, and I do understand every component that you do add to this kit will increase the price, but to just include one battery isn't the best. I think other kits in the market include 2 sets of battery, and I do think 2 sets is a really good start. Only because if you're gonna fly this for the first time, FPV drones gets between 4 and 5 minutes of flight time. A person who may not understand FPV or get FPV might be turned off by that. Like, why did I get this? This thing lasts only 4 minutes, and now I have to wait another 20 minutes just to charge this one battery. So it is kind of weird, even with the fact that the charger does have a slot for 2 batteries, but we included only 1. I wish they can do better with that. So yeah, guys, that's what I dislike. Let's talk about the things that I do like about this kit, and there's a lot to like. There's a lot, and I'm just gonna try to, narrow it down to 5 things. Let's start with the overall package. It seems like this thing is really nice. It's, in my opinion, the best thing about this is the aesthetics. It's aesthetically pleasing. Everything from the case to the radio, to the drone, to the goggles, it's uniform. It looks like it was made to be together. Other kits in the market seem like they're taking parts from either a drone here, apart from this radio that they make, and then here's the goggles that we do sell as well, and put them together, and they don't really match. It don't seem like it's a cohesive package. This thing is amazing, guys. With that said, with the aesthetics, everything seems to be well built. I'm not saying that it is well built or it's premium materials, but everything seems to be well built. As I said before, the previous controller was a cheaper, ball type joint gimbals. Everything looks premium here. I'm not saying that this is like steel, this might be aluminum, but everything looks premium. We have this shiny machined aluminum or maybe plastic. You have a contrasting color here. You have everything that looks really nice. It's a really nice package. Even these switches here that we don't use much, the trim switches, it looks very premium, and the size is great. And as I said before in my other video, here's your goggles, and this thing looks just as premium, probably the most premium looking thing on here. And as I said, it matches, it looks very uniform. It goes together with this nice little gray and black theme. And you can tell because once you detach this and attach this to your radio, it looks like these 2 things belong together, which they thought about while they were manufacturing this. All right, second thing I like about this whole kit is the goggles and the versatility of the goggles. We talked about how it's adjustable for different visions. This thing is adjustable. I used the furthest notch out here. Personally, I can fly this without glasses, so that's great. If this doesn't work for you, and there's a lot of people who are visually impaired, then you can easily, this thing just popped off, this thing can be converted to a monitor, and that's really great. You can attach this to your radio, which I've demonstrated multiple times in my previous videos. It looks the part as well. It looks very premium, and if you get maybe too immersed in the goggles, or you can't fit it because of glasses, or you're visually impaired, then you can fly like this. I can easily use this as a monitor, and that's what it was intended for as well. So if you outgrow this kit, you moved on to better goggles, or maybe another remote, then you can use this in the field for, or as a monitor. Give it to your friends, your family, and they can see what FPV is all about. All right, so the third thing I like about this drone is in the drone, and that is the camera, the FPV camera. This is the Runcam Nano 4, and they do sell this camera separately, so if you want to put this in another micro drone or something, then you can do that. But I was totally amazed by the quality of the camera, honestly, guys. I talked about earlier, when I flew this drone up here in the house and then I flew it outside, the transition, the ISO or the exposure adjusted pretty quickly, which is really good. But the next thing I like about this is just, I've never flown a drone or an analog drone with so natural colors. The colors on this is spot on, guys. If this wasn't analog and it was digital, you can actually use this straight from the DVR and use it. Multiple times I've used this indoors. I've used it in the play area, the grass, the sky, the skin colors. This is a really good camera, guys. And the fact that this also has a tiltable camera, is also impressive. So you can fly this indoors with a low camera angle, or if you want to go outside and fly faster, then you can increase the angle and fly faster outdoors. So the fourth thing I like about this kit is the drone. And when I talk about the drone, I'm talking about the flight characteristics of the drone, especially indoors. Now, I've flown other small drones indoors, and this seems to be the best. Now, the tune on here is very, dull. When I say dull, the rates are very low, but you can obviously go to air mode or acro mode and speed that up. But I've never flown a drone indoors that was this smooth. This thing was extremely smooth, very maneuverable. Sometimes you fly other drones and it's affected by its own prop wash, or you're gonna shoot a gap. I shot the gaps in here in the studio a few times, and never once when I went through those gaps or those situations that, the airflow disrupted the flight controller or the drone. It just kept going smooth. So the fifth and final thing I like about this whole kit is the controller again, and that goes back to the SIM support. And that's because we have a micro USB port on here, and you can plug this into your radio and plug it into your computer. And why is that important? Because that's important because if you're new to FPV, these things are very difficult to fly. Now, the controls may look the same as a camera drone, but the way this behaves is totally different than a camera drone. And I talked about the different modes in my previous video, so you can take a look at that and why that's so different. But the whole point here is if you get into full acro mode, you're doing everything from speed, altitude control, to leveling off and to banking. Everything is down to you. And let's not forget, if the weather is bad outside, you can just go to your computer, plug this in, fly for a few hours, and get the itch of flying out. So a bonus here, in conjunction with using this as a simulator, is the fact that this is a D8 and D16 transmitter or radio. And that's pretty cool. The thing I love about certain kits is the ability to upgrade and use your equipment in the future. The big thing here is that this is a D8 and D16 receiver, meaning you can bind this to future drones if you do buy some other drones in the future. That's the reason why my first video on this was titled, "It's the best kit to grow with," meaning once you have all these accessories and you say, okay, I'm done with this, I wanna get a different type of drone, maybe I wanna get a EMAX TinyHawk 2 Freestyle, or any kind of drone for that matter, then you can probably use these two accessories to fly with that drone. So yeah guys, let me know what you think about this RTF kit. I've received a lot of questions about this kit and asked me what do I like or dislike about this whole thing. And now that you hear about the things that I like, maybe it can help you make a better purchase decision. And yeah guys, I've done a few videos on this kit. I'll leave them linked above and below in case you want to see my initial impressions, how to set this up, and my first flight, and also this one here, the things I like and dislike about this whole kit right here guys. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I will see you in those videos. Peace!